And let me also record it for posterity, because later I will upload it on YouTube. And this is... well, it's a tier list that includes the characters of the 3.4. But there are a few characters that I do not own, some that I own but I have played extensively, so we will have to see the rating for those. I will start with... hold on a moment, I keep getting messages on the phone. Today is the day that everyone looks for me on the phone when I want to do the tier list. Okay, let's try to follow the order. Well, main character a bit later. I added a tier list compared to my old tiers because very often there are some characters that are not good enough to be here but are better than this. So I added one. And Albedo for me is really nice tier. He's not amazing, but he can be fit in a lot of different teams. He performs well and he's also very easy to build. Tier Ember, I would put her here in bait. She can be built to help your team, but not amazing. It's borderline here, but not as bad. Ayaka God tier. Barbara God turned the other way when God designed her kit. Beidou clearly here because she's amazing as a not just as a 4-star character. Like if Beidou was a 5-star, people would pull for her banner for sure. Bennett absolutely busted. Chongers is a bit copium. He can be useful. He's a kind of character that in the early game when you have a limited roster of characters, he's very good because his burst is cheap, deals a lot of damage, it allows you to play around with cryo infusion. After that it goes down a little bit, but he's not bad. He's not bad. Diluc would put him around here, borderline alpha tier. He can still be the main carry of a lot of teams that can give you full stars in the Abyss. Diona, we put her here. She's fine, just not easy to find a spot for her in a lot of teams. Fischl is great. She was great before Dendro, and Dendro made her even better, so I think we can safely put her in alpha tier. Yeah, Gun is still here, I think. Just because her damage is so consistent. So consistent. You don't need to worry too much about rotations. You don't need to worry about a lot of things. It's just endless amount of damage. Hutao goes there. Gina would put her in really nice. Not good enough to be in alpha tier, but definitely there. Kea would put him in copium tier. Again, it's not a tier that is bad. He's borderline really nice, but there are alternatives. Catching between these two, actually. I will put her in really nice because she is alpha tier in aggravate quicken teams, but other than that she's not particularly amazing. But borderline here, like most Electro characters. Klee. Okay, Klee is the first characters of these that I do not have, but there was a time during which I had a friend who gave me his account to take care of because we were going away for some time and they were worried that they would be missing out on content. And in his account there was Klee, and I played her for 2 weeks, and her kit for me is probably around here. She deals a good amount of damage, but because of the amount of the pyro that she applies, she doesn't synergize too well with a lot of other characters in the game. Plus, she also has the problem that her kit is really clunky to use. So for me, she's not better than this. Lisa, she has her own uses. I consider her bait just because eventually, as your roster improves, you get characters that can work well as fillers for the spot of buffer. And Mona really nice. Yeah. She's alpha tier when she's in freeze teams, but she's currently struggling a little bit to find a spot in popular teams. So that's why I added this tier. It's like basically a tier of very good characters who are not being played a lot right now. Ningguang here, she's a bit bait. Noelle, the usual disclaimer, when you start playing and you get Noelle from the beginner banner and you just have few characters available, she's here because she's going to be the only character who provides healing and shielding to you. And also a little bit of damage. But as your roster improves, she goes down and down and down and down and down. Then eventually you get her Constellation 6, and when you get her Constellation 6, if you have a good team for her and you invest into her, she goes up a little bit. I will put her in really noise because I know what she's capable of at Constellation 6 and when she's well built. I would take a well-built Noelle over a well-built Chongyun any time of the day. So for me, she's in this tier. She becomes alpha tier only if you hyper-invest into her. The problem is that almost every character can go there if you hyper-invest into them, and you have 3 characters who only provide the damage and energy recharge to that character. So I think this is a good tier for Noelle. My Noelle is here, but that's because I spent an insane amount of resin on her. Most Noelles can be here. Chi-Chi, somewhere between these two, I will put her in Copium tier. The cool thing about Chi-Chi is that she doesn't need essentially any investment to work well. She just needs 4 pieces Ocean Hue Clem with stats that are decent for her. And after you give her that to her and you use either Sacrificial or Favonius, she's going to be a very good on-field driver. The problem that Chi-Chi has, well, there are 2 problems with Chi-Chi. Well, no, there are 3 problems with Chi-Chi. Outside of her kit, the fact that she does not generate energy at all with her kit, is that a lot of people use her off-field. And as an off-field healer, there are better characters than Chi-Chi. Like Dory. Dory is better than Chi-Chi as an off-field healer because in addition to healing, Dory also generates energy. And some people try to force her into a physical damage carry. Her multipliers are ridiculous. She's not a good physical damage carry. The way in which you can play Chi-Chi and have her play well and work well is when the other 3 characters are someone like Shinchu, Yelan, Fischl, Beidou, any combination of off-field damage dealers. Because when you do that, you have Chi-Chi on field as the driver of the team. She's keeping everyone healed up, she can generate energy with the Favonius Sword. Meanwhile, all the other characters are dealing damage. And I've cleared every Abyss rotation with a team like that. Chi-Chi plus 3, any off-field damage dealers. I think that before Dendro, before the last month, I would have put Razor here, and very likely my old tier list is around here. But now with Dendro, he gained up a few spots. I would probably put him here, because he works in the same way as Chi-Chi. You use him as the on-field driver in teams that rely on Dendro reactions, Electro, Hydro, burning reaction. And he's actually pretty okay in those teams, so definitely here. Sacrosi is really good. Really, really good. Considering that one of the most common sentences is, if you do not have Kazuha, you can use Sacrosi and she's just a little bit worse. A character that is just a little bit worse than Kazuha cannot be ranked low. Child, very good. Very, very good. Venti, for me, is here. Basically, I created this tier for characters like Venti. Venti is great when he gets a rerun, because the Abyss is basically designed in a way that makes him shine. Every time there is a Venti rerun, you will notice there are 25 million Hilichuls and treasure hoarders in the Abyss, because they want Venti to look amazing. Then you go to do the commissions, and Venti is very good at dealing with the commissions, you know, with the trash camps of trash monsters. Then you go to the Abyss and there is Mango Kinky, Venti is useless. There are all the ruin guards, flying dudes and stuff like that, Venti is useless. And then there are other bosses, Venti is useless. So his utility really depends on whether you value a lot the idea of going in the open world and clearing camps, or going to the abyss and killing the harder content. For hard content, Venti is not very good. I don't rate him higher than this. Shanling, I will put her here. The reason why I don't want to put her right here in God tier is that Shanling, even though she's very, very good, she forces you to play Funnel Impact, which is a nightmare. And I absolutely hate it, and I don't like playing Shanling for that reason. For me, the difference between Shanling and Noelle is that Noelle kinda forces you to play Funnel Impact, but Noelle is on the field all the time. So, while it's true that your other characters need to funnel energy to Noelle, Noelle is the one who is on the field. Shanling is never on the field in her teams, which makes it very, very annoying to play, and I don't like it. Xiao, I would put him here. In terms of overall power level, he's probably around here, but his team compositions are very, very limited, and I find it hard to value him very, very, very highly. Shinchu here is busted. I'm a bit confused about Xinyan. Like, for me, Xinyan by default is here, but I've seen people playing her in very weird teams with a lot of elemental reaction and using her as on-field physical damage dealer. It confuses me a lot. It's not something that I thought was possible. And oh my god, I moved everything. Hold on a moment. Can we reset it in a way that is watchable? I think it's watchable, yes. Okay. Okay, let me go back to the browser. It confuses me a lot. I never played those teams, so there is a chance that she's actually very, very good and she needs to go here, but for me, for my experience of the game, she's here. I have not even looked into those teams, I have never built her, so I guess my Xinyan will always be there. John Lee, I will put him in alpha tier, just because there are so many teams that just becomes better if you put a random John Lee with 4 pieces tenacity in there, and he's there. Rosaria, a little bit copium, a little bit really nice. There are alternatives to Rosaria in cryo teams, and I find it hard to value her higher than this, but this tier, I called it copium tier, but they're actually still pretty good characters, don't get it. Like, for me, bad/mediocre characters start here, not here. This is still good, but just not as good as those in the higher tiers. Eula will put her here. She can be higher, but like, we've had so many patches centered around elemental reactions with absolutely no form of buffs for physical damage that she cannot really go higher than this right now. If we start to get artifacts or characters that improve physical damage dealers, then she will go up a little bit. But for the time being, she lost a little bit of value compared to the past. Yanfei here, she's fine. Kazuha God tier, absolutely, he's busted. Yomiya goes here, she's a very good pyro carry. Sayu is a bit bait, she's not amazing. I'm not sure what's this, by the way, because it's still Kazuha. It's not the first time that I see a Genshin Impact tier list with this image on it. I have no clue what it's supposed to be. Explanation. The reason why I put Sayu here is that her kit is not very good. Her main value is that she has a claymore, she's good for exploration, she heals a bit, and she can carry 4 pieces Viridescent Venerer. So her kit overall has a lot of good things going for it, but she's not a very good character. She doesn't generate good particles. Her AoE is very limited, her healing is very limited, so overall not a very good character, but she can be very useful. Raiden is Omega busted, she goes there. Sarah, a bit like Farzan, is a little bit difficult to evaluate because she only fits with very specific characters. With those specific characters and at high constellations, they're very good. So how do you value that kind of character? Probably around here. I will put them together next to each other so the disclaimer is valid at the same time, and I don't need to repeat it again. They go much higher if you're using the right characters who can use them. Otherwise, not very good characters in a vacuum. Kokomi, like, for me personally, Kokomi is here because there are many ways in which you can replace her. Like, every time that I see a team, like a top meta team with Kokomi inside, I do not have Kokomi. I take Mona and I give her Prototype Ember and I achieve exactly the same. Just the rotation are a bit different. The character who deals most of the damage is a bit different, but overall they are about the same. I know for a lot of people Kokomi goes here or here, but for me personally she is here. I have a little bit of experience with her, but not as much as Klee. I mentioned it earlier in my tier list. I do not have Klee, but I played her for a very long time. I do not have Kokomi, but I played for a couple of days on an accounts friend, and that's when I decided to skip her. She doesn't bring a lot of value to me, but for some people she's here, and if people put her here, it's absolutely fine. I can see it happening. Just for me, she's not an extremely valuable character. Aloy is not a character of this game. Toma used to be here, but now that we have Dendro, he can go up a little bit. Copium tier because he works fine with what is it called, with Dendro. So now he's a playable character. Itto here deals a ton of damage. I would not necessarily say that he's a better Noelle, but he's a Noelle with energy recharge, without healing and without shielding. Overall, Itto's kit is better, but I already have a very well built Noelle and I would never play Itto, so... Goro, yeah, I should have put him here next to these two. Where is Doggy Boy? Come here, Doggy Boy. There. Same disclaimer for the three of them. In the right team he is great, otherwise not that great. Shen is a little bit different, and I rank her higher than these three. Because one could argue, wait, Sir Grandelot, even those are limited characters. Why would Shen rank higher? The reason is that in the right team, Shen is better than Bennett and Kazuha combined. And that's pretty valuable. My Ayaka hits for 70k with not with Bennett, with Kazuha and Mona. She hits for 100k with Kazuha, Mona and Shen. So her value is absurd in the right teams. So she ranks higher. She cannot stay here because she's very limited. She will only fit with her or some meme teams with Chongyun and other cryo characters. But in those characters, she's so good and busted that she ranks higher than Farzan, Sarah, and Goro. Yunjin... somewhere between here. Like, somewhere between really nice and Copium tier. The reason is that she only fits in teams where the main character deals normal attack damage, and in those teams she's very good. She's more versatile compared to these three, because she doesn't care about the element, but she's also limited in the sense that she only works with normal attackers. I found her to be very, very good with Yoimiya, and Noelle also, but especially with Yoimiya. Yeah, I would put her here. She used to be here before Dendro, now I can safely put her here, because with Dendro she's amazing. She synergizes so well with Nahida. She's definitely in this tier of character. Ayato here as well. His power level by himself is not insane, but he can fit in so many teams. electrocharge teams, freeze teams, teams that are centered around Dendro. He can just be a carry in mono hydro teams. He's very, very good. He easy to build, mostly centered around his elemental skill, meaning that you don't worry too much about energy recharge. Very, very good character. Yelan here. Yelan is insane. Yelan is wrong. A thing that I mentioned in my stream and that I want to say in my tier list as well, anyone who is saying Yelan and Shinchu are the same has never played Yelan, or has a very badly built Yelan, because they're not comparable at all. The damage output, the energy regeneration, the mobility, the fact that she increases damage of the on-field character, there is no comparison between the two. Yelan is just on a class of her own. Cookie used to be here. I would probably put her here now. Really nice tier. A tier above these, mainly because being electro healer that synergizes well in Hyper Bloom teams is essentially enabling a lot of teams and is allowing a lot of players to get better clears in the Abyss. Considering that she works extremely well just at Constellation 0 with Trash Artifact, the value of having a Cookie in an account for a new player, or a mid-game player who is starting to approach the Abyss is really, really high. I have him, but I've not played him much. Let me put... can I add a tier from here? Add a row below. Okay, will it appear on screen? Yes. Okay, let me edit it. Not enough game time. Okay. I basically only played his trial, and I saw other people playing him. I'm not familiar with him at all. I don't want to give him a rating. Tighnari, very good. Very, very good. He enables Dendro teams in a way that Collei and main character cannot do, and he deals a very good amount of damage. He's easy to build. He's fairly fun to play, so definitely here. Collei, a bit bait. I would consider her bait because there are many other better options for Dendro, and she's very comparable to main character. So you can build her if you don't have any other option, but she's not amazing. She becomes a bit better at Constellation 6, but still, between these two tiers. So if you're a bit low on resources, don't build Collei. Dory, I will die on a hill that Dory is a very, very, very good character. And the reason why people are not building her or consider trash tier is either A, they didn't play her, or B, they didn't build her, or C, they try to build her like Cookie, but she has a very different kit compared to Cookie. I made a video about Dory, just showing how she's played. You want Dory in a team where you have 3 good characters who deal damage and synergize well between them, and you need a 4th character only to provide energy, energy regeneration and healing, and potentially electro... what is it called? The synergy. Electro resonance. Or teams with a Hyper Bloom, you do not have Cookie and you want better healing than Cookie, you want Dory. Dory is going to work absolutely fine. Because when built for full elemental mastery, she can get as much elemental mastery as Cookie. At low constellations, Cookie doesn't really care too much about elemental mastery. Like, yeah, sure, her kit benefits a bit from elemental mastery, but not that much. You can still get a 900 elemental mastery or so from Dory, and she can activate Hyper Blooms just fine. She's a good character, definitely a good character. She's bad if you compare her to Cookie in Hyper Bloom teams, but I could make the argument that Cookie is a bad character if you compare her to Dory in teams where Dory is better than Cookie, and it's a silly argument. So they're both good characters, they just fit in different teams. No game time for me with Nilo. I had to skip her to get higher constellation on Nahida, and I don't want to rate her. Based on what I've seen other people play, I would rate her between here and here, probably here. But again, I've not played her enough, so I have to put her there. Sino, same disclaimer. I've seen people playing Sino essentially like... Where did I put Razor? I lost Razor. Where did I put Razor? Excuse me? Oh, okay, here. I've seen people playing Sino as a hyper carry, but I also seen people playing Sino essentially as a premium version of Razor. I need to put in here because I'm not played enough. Candace always activates my almonds when I look at her kit and I play her, because I think that the combination of Hydro Infusion and especially at Constellation 6, the ability of having Hydro essentially hovering around you has a lot of potential to be exploited. But the problem is that right now there are no teams that can really exploit it very well, and those teams that can exploit that kind of stuff would prefer Shinshu, Yelan, Nilu, you know, those kind of characters. I think she has potential of being a future Cookie Toma, meaning that maybe right now she's pretty bad, but in the future we will be like, oh, hold on a moment, Candace is going to be amazing in this team. I do not consider her completely trash, because even if you completely ignore the Hydro Infusion that she provides elemental damage to the on-field character. So any character who has elemental infusion, like Noelle or Catalyst User... No, not Catalyst User, sorry. Any Hydropolar... I'm having a stroke. Any Hydro Claymore Sword user who has an own infusion and doesn't care about her infusion can still benefit from her elemental damage, so she's not wasted, just not amazing. She is busted, she's god tier, absolutely. I played the first 2 days of Nahida at lower constellations, and then I used all my Primogens to get her Constellation 6. At low constellation she's here. At high constellation, she's the strongest character in the game. She's amazing. I feel sorry for people who skipped her because her kit is really good, even at Constellation 0. Layla, probably between here. Where did I put Diona? I put Diona here. I will put them next to each other for a moment. Is Layla better than Diona? In some teams she's better, in some teams she's worse. So I guess I have to put them next to each other in the same tier. The reason why in some teams she's better and in some teams she's worse is that in general she provides better energy and more reliably than Diona. And more consistently than Diona. Whereas with Diona you need to play Funnel Impact and you need to keep switching. The problem is that one of the teams where you play Diona and or Layla is with Eula, and Eula prefers Diona because you want to funnel all the energy into Eula. You don't want to run the risk of generating particles for other characters. Also, when her shield goes down, her energy regeneration also goes down, and Eula is not a huge fan of that. But in other teams, Layla is much better than Diona. Like, if I'm playing Ganyu, Kazuha, maybe a Hydro character, and I want a shielder, I will always take Layla, because her shield is much better than Diona. Diona's healing is essentially a meme. So yeah, pretty much same tier, next to each other. For the most part fit in same teams. Not enough game time with him. I've seen people playing him. When I see people playing him, for me he feels like he's here. Very good on field carry. Not enough game time for me, so I don't like to evaluate characters that I've not played at all. We are left with this thing that will consistently show up in pre-made Genshin Impact tier list. I don't know why it's here. I wonder if it means Constellation 6 Kazuha. I have no clue. Main character... probably around here. I think that in general, a well-built main character of some specific elements can fit in teams better than these characters, for the most part. Because if you really need the geo resonance, main character is going to work very well. Her burst is actually pretty good. If you need electro resonance, she's a pretty good electro character that generates a good amount of particles. If you want a Dendro application, she's very good at applying Dendro, and she can be played with a Sacrificial or a Favonius Sword, and she also becomes a good battery. So main character has a lot of things working for her, or him. Let's do this. Take that, patriarchy. So, does it make sense to have them around here? I think so. I think so. Like, I guess that for some people they could also go here, because when you have a good roster of characters, you always have alternatives to main character. Always. But if you are, more in the mid-game, early stages of the late game, you're missing out on a lot of characters, then they go up a little bit. I could add a tier here, like, okay when you don't have many characters, but we start having 25 million tiers. Let me have another look. God, turn the other way, yeah. Bait, copying, really nice. Yeah, this is all alpha tier, this is all god tier. There may be an argument made for Venti here, but... when I look at my account, I only regret pulling for two characters. One is Eula and one is Venti, but for very different reasons. I like Eula, and I think her power level is very high, but I hate the fact that her burst can miss. Either because the monsters dodge, or they teleport away, or they have an iframe, and I don't hit anything, and it bothers me. Like, I'm not bothered when her burst does not crit, but the fact that sometimes it does not hit anything at all bothers me a lot. So I wish I did not have her, but she's a very good character. Him, on the other hand, I never use him. I don't find him valuable at all. So for me, he goes here, next to Chi-Chi. I play Chi-Chi way more often than Venti, way more often. I basically only use Venti apart from when he gets a rerun, because the Abyss basically is designed in a way that allows me to clear chambers all by himself. But apart from that, I can think of a couple of domains that if you have Venti, you save 5 seconds. And in general, when you're killing Hilichurl camps. But I'm not spending most of my time in Genshin Impact clearing Hilichurl camps, so I cannot value Venti very high. And I remember when I got Venti, I lost a 50-50 and I got Diluc. I believe it was around 110 pools, because I got Diluc at soft PT, and then in around 30-35 pools I got Venti. I really wish I could get those 100 pools back. Even if I just got one soft PT, I would be happy. I would be very, very happy. But what is done is done. Yeah, I think that's my tier list for a 3.34. Unfortunately, we cannot comment on them.